Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. And on today we have Luke, who brought his Invoked list. So this is pretty interesting. It's not a Mech Knight Invoked list, which is a big variation from what we've seen as of the last pretty much year since the Mech Knights came out. It is still a going second list, and it focuses on using the field spell options and the hand traps as well, and features a nice Trickstar engine in here. So let's just take a quick look at the list itself. Obviously the typical Invoked engine with triple Alistair, triple Meltdown and triple Invocation, so you don't have to worry about being hand trapped too much. If your opponent hand traps the Alistair and you have the Invocation already, then essentially you're just trading cards at that point. And then for the Trickstar engine, double Corobane, one Candina and one Lilybell. That means there are 3 special summons. One of them you can bring out after your normal summon, and you have a Candina, so you can get that free +1 if you ever need it. Triple Pankratops, obviously it's really strong, going second against pretty much everything in the meta at the moment. And then for hand traps, Ash, Vela, Gamma, one Driver. Field spell lineup, as we said, 1 set rotation as well. You can give your opponent the whichever you believe is the weaker field spell and get your own engine going. Double Terraforming, triple Desires, which is reasonable in this list because the worst case scenario you're going to banish a Candina or a Lilybell. Everything else you kind of have already. I guess you could banish the Driver as well. And then double Super Poly, the card is really busted at the moment, and triple Evenly Matched, one of the strongest going second cards. So for the extra deck, the Invoked engine is, I guess, slightly larger than we typically see. 1 Kaligo, 1 Elysium, triple Macabre, and double Purgatory. Normally we don't tend to see this many Invoked fusion monsters, but then it has been a while since I've done an Invoked list on this channel. 1 Alistair the Invoker of Madness, 1 Underclock Taker, Phoenix and Unicorn and Mermaid. Mermaid is pretty interesting, so because you do sometimes get locked down by that Ibly, you're able to just deal with it like this. Then Borosword for the OTKs, Venom Fusion, and a Violet Chimera, because you need to get these Super Polys off, and if you resolve it against a Salamangreat player, you're going to be really far ahead at that point. For the side deck, triple Crow, triple Cosmic Cyclone, double Twisters. Yeah, do note that there's no actual spell-based spell or trap removal apart from Evenly in the main, which means you're not going to be able to deal with the Mine. So siding in 5 cards for Mine there, and then playing 3 copies of Mine himself. The fact that you're already playing a Terraforming engine, a field spell engine, means that this is even better. And 1 Black Garden as well, which has some great applications against things like Sky Striker at the moment. And then triple Metaverse. So that's it for the list itself. Let's move on to the rounds. So 7-round event at the Southampton Regional. I'm making top 8 by just having 1 single loss in round 6 to Sky Striker. And then showing 1, 2, 3, 4 matches against Orcust. One of them being a draw, and all the others being solid wins. So round 1, his draw actually, he said that unfortunately he missed an OTK in game 2 through a miscalculation. If he hadn't made that misplay, then it would have been a 2-0 victory here. And given the number of wins after that, it sounds like Orcust is a relatively easy matchup for Invoked, given the number of hand traps that you main deck and how much removal you have and the choice that you go second. Against Cyber Dragons, a 2-0 win, not much to say here. Against Endymion, a 2-0 win. Game 1, Luke hand-trapped the opponent and then OTK'd, and then in Game 2 he dealt with one of the opponent's negates and then dropped double Evenly, so that completely wrecks support there. And then round 4 against Orcust. So games 1 and 2 were both one-sided. 1 player just coming out on top in each one, and then in Game 3 it was a grind game that eventually came down to Luke having more cards. Invoked does generate a fair amount of card advantage because you're constantly recurring that Alistair, whereas the Orcust deck, if it does get stopped mid-combo, it tends to have invested a lot of cards. Like by the time you resolve your Mermaid, you've put in like 1 or 2 cards at least, or 3 cards even, into that point, because you've had to do a discard and put 2 monsters on the board, so potentially 3 cards have gone into that, and it can be pretty tough to get out of that situation afterwards. And then round 5 against Orcust, a 2-0 win here. Both games dragged, and Invoked does really well in simplified game states, he says. Round 6 against Sky Striker, so his loss. In game 1, he OTK'd through a suboptimal opening, and in the other 2 games, the comeback attempt was denied by Lanciers, at which point you just kind of accept your loss there. The fact that Lancier is already being sided really makes it more difficult to play an Invoked deck in this format. And then round 7 against Orcust, a 2-0 win again. He said he was in a really good position for both games. The opponent made him start in game 2, but Luke ended on Kaliga and Macabre board, which the opponent couldn't effectively deal with, so had to lose that one out. So on to the siding strategy. So against Orcust, so he says he never actually chose to go first here. So when he thinks that, so this is when he thinks they'll make him go first. He puts in the Mystic Mines, the Metaverses, and the DD Crows. They're just so applicable within this matchup. And if you're going first, so much of the deck is kind of irrelevant. So the Gammas, the Driver, the one Pankratops, and the Triple Evenly all come out. For going second, he's actually putting in the Crows and taking out the Ash Blossoms. This is pretty interesting, because obviously they can use Eagle Booster to protect the Mermaid, which is the optimal point to hit with the Ash Blossom. But there's no actual protection for the cards in the graveyard, which means that DD Crow can be really powerful there. And the only real way around this is to have already set up your Galatea and give yourself the Babel earlier on, so that you have quick effects so you can play around the Crow, but it seems very unlikely that you're going to be in that position anyway. So against Sky Striker, a very typical matchup for this meta, again, he says he doesn't think that he's never going to be choosing to go first, but when they make him go first, he's putting in the DD Crows, Cosmic Cyclones, and Twin Twisters. Obviously, back row removal is very important. The Black Garden to give your opponent monsters, and 3 Metaverse. The Trickstar engine is actually really strong in this matchup, and Metaverse gives you even more access to it, as well as having the Black Gardens. And then taking out the Evenlies, the Drivers, the Super Polys, and the Pankratops. Obviously, Super Poly does absolutely nothing within this matchup. So, you know, you don't want to have it in your main deck if you're going to be facing a lot of Sky Striker at your event. For going second, there's quite a lot of siding here still. The Crows and all the back row removal come in, and the Black Garden too. But the same kind of stuff comes out, except he's actually taking out the Veilers for going second here as well. Against Salamangreat, another very popular deck at the moment. Crows, one Cosmic Cyclone, Triple Mine, and Triple Metaverse all come in for going first, and a bunch of the going second cards come out. And then for going second, just the Crows going in and the Ash Blossoms coming out there. You don't have to worry too much about being hit by a Dweller or anything, so you don't need to like Ash Blossom that play anyway. For against Pendulum decks, which he did prepare for, all the back row removal comes in to get rid of those scales, and then Triple Mine and Triple Metaverse. If they can't get off their monster effects, they're going to be pretty screwed unless they can get off some of the good like Endymion scale effects, and a bunch of the side deck, go second cards come out once again. And for deck number 5 against the Mystic Mine Burn deck, all the back row removal comes in, your own Mystic Mines come in, and the Metaverses come in, and that gets rid of the a lot of the kind of pointless cards in this matchup, like the Gammas, the Veilers, the Pankratops, and the Super Polys. So that's it for the siding. He chose to play this deck because it has a really strong Orcust matchup and it can adapt to beat a lot of the other decks anyway. He also feels really comfortable playing Invoked in this format. He said that the event overall was great, he really enjoyed it. He doesn't often go to regionals at the moment, so it's nice to catch up with people, and he got to play one of his favourite decks. The easiest matchup for this deck is certainly the Orcust matchup. If you hand trap them properly, then you just win. The hardest one is Thunder Dragons, because when playing blindly, he chooses second, and as soon as they get out Colossus, you're kind of struggling. When he knows they're playing Thunder, he does go first and makes the Kaliga though, so unless they can out that, they're in a bit of a struggle. Relative to other decks, other Invoked decks, it doesn't have any, this deck doesn't feature any Strikers, Mechanites, and he does feature the Trickstars, which most of the others don't, or they tend to feature a lot very differently sized Trickstar engines, which is a big change. He says that he really likes playing triple light stage. It contributes to the games that he won to. Pinning the stuff like Fogblade and Widow Anchor or Call By is really, really crucial. As for changes, he said that if he did own the engages, then he would probably play a Striker engine of 3 Engage, 1 Anchor, 1 Jamming Waves, and 1 Hornet Drones. He's not sure what 5 cards he would drop, but Candina will probably go there, because her purpose in this list is just to offer a play when he doesn't draw the Alistair. It does give you access to that Invoker of Madness. And then as for the upcoming sets that he's excited about, though it has not been confirmed for us yet, as far as he knows, The other Link 1 Salamangreat that requires a normal summoned or set monster with 1,000 or less attack would be huge push for the Invoked deck. It actually gives you instant access to Purgatory because it's fire, so your Alistair just turns into that, and then suddenly you can bring out a Purgatory, which is actually massive. As for shoutouts, shoutouts go to his friend Fleet that he played in round 7. It sucks that they had to play each other on the bubble, and also shoutouts to his Duel Links team, Animal Plays. So thanks very much for coming on, Luke, and sharing your top 8 list from the Southampton Regional. Great to see Invoked returning to the meta, and a nice, interesting spin on it, you know, playing the masses of hand traps and none of the Mech Knights, and the Trickstar engine is very, very cool. And the side deck's pretty nice too. So thanks for coming on, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.